Hi, I'm Hannah.
And I'm Matt Hannah.
And this is Horror Hour with the Hannahs.
Where we talk about all your favorite scary movie new releases.
Hell yeah. So today, if you can't tell, we're talking about a new release movie. We finally saw Cuckoo. I don't know why I said finally. It just came out.
I almost just said we saw Trap. I forgot what we were talking about. I'm still thinking about Trap.
We're going to have a good time. For a fun fact right off the bat, Matt's been referring to this movie as Cuckoo because he says it's spelled like cuckoo, and he didn't know how the word cuckoo was spelled.
No, I think I knew what it spelled like. It just didn't look right to me. So I was like, is it cuckoo? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, he's been saying it for a while now. Well, Cuckoo was written and directed by Tilman Singer, and it was a co-production between Germany and the United States, and filmed in Germany.
Okay, I was going to ask, so it was actually filmed in the Alps?
Yes.
Oh, very cool.
And it's starring Hunter Schafer and Dan Stevens. This is actually Hunter's first movie.
Yeah, and
she has like a shit ton coming out in the next year or two.
Reasonable, because she was very good in this.
She's very good.
So I will say off the bat, I'm sure you guys saw trailers.
Box, synopsis, my dude.
Just let me go with what I was going with here. I was going to say, I feel like a lot of people probably saw trailers for this movie, and I will say I did not think that the trailers really did this justice. So before we go anywhere, if you had any interest, I would say go see this. Like off the bat, I would give it a recommendation to watch, and then I think the trailers really buried the lead about what this movie's about. It is very much kind of a sci-fi thriller, light sci-fi, I would say. Not like space sci-fi, but more like creepy, weird stuff sci-fi going on. And I really felt that the trailers did not do it for me, and I was very pleasantly surprised by this movie because of that. So I don't know why they marketed the way they did.
I get why they marketed the way they did.
They marketed it like a gaslighting movie, which is just not what it is at all.
It's for a little bit. Maybe. Yeah,
but they made it seem like that was the big thing, was that this person doesn't think they're crazy and everyone thinks they're crazy.
Yeah, I think that this is a movie that's really fucking hard to make a trailer for, to be fair. So, I mean, with what a lot of the movie's actually about, you can't put in the trailer.
Fine.
So
you won't spoil. Okay.
I think.
Well, that's why people come to the podcast, so they can get my opinion on whether they should go see it or not.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. People. I would say it's worth seeing, and that the trailers were weird.
Yeah. I didn't know how excited I was, and because the trailer didn't give much away, I kind of went in with no expectations. So I feel like I was very happy with how it turned out. So back of the box synopsis, according to Wikipedia, the film follows a teenager who moves to the German Alps to live with her father, but becomes disturbed by strange occurrences as her father's boss embroils her family in a sinister plot. Which I feel like is kind of in the trailer.
Yeah.
It gives nothing away,
This one
though.
still gives just so little that I think is like critical to talk about the movie at all. But I will do my best to not do a spoiler, or to do a spoiler free.
Yes, sir. You better. So, some background that is spoiler free. This movie was shot on film.
Oh, I could tell.
And it looks great.
I was literally like, oh, this looks like it was shot on film. But then I was like, oh, maybe it wasn't.
Well, that's why I looked it up.
Oh, I'm so excited
you found that. Yeah, shot on film. Really liked that. This is another baller neon release this year.
Yeah, they're really killing it.
Yeah, they're having a great year with horror. And ASL is used in this film.
Say what ASL is.
American Sign Language is used throughout the film. But fun fact, Hunter already knew ASL. She said, I had quite a few deaf friends in middle school and took ASL lessons and picked that up.
Oh, that's cute.
So for the film, she just got some refreshers, which I really liked. I was like, you go, girl. And I also want to learn ASL. So I thought that was cool. My final fact, I don't even think this is like a fun fact, but I was reading interviews and Dan Stevens referred to himself as the weirdo character. And I was like, you right, bestie. You are the weirdo character.
He's pretty weird in this, in a good way. And he's very German in it, which was also funny to have him put on this outlandish German accent.
Well, he is not German, but this is not his first film speaking in German. he learned German in school, so he's pretty, he's like almost fluent.
That's pretty cool, and I would say it definitely shows in this movie.
Yeah. I think Dan Stevens is really talented. I find him really interesting because I feel like I hadn't noticed him and heard his name until this year. And then he's popping up everywhere, and I'm like, damn, dude, you're a little freak, and I'm into it.
Yeah, what else was he in besides Abigail this year?
Well, those are his movies this year, but he's like a weirdo in both of them.
Oh, gotcha. I thought there was other stuff that you'd seen him in or something.
Well, this one is like peak weird. And then he did Godzilla, Kong, New Empire, whatever.
Okay. Oh, that was this year, right?
He did one of the, oh yeah, that is this year. He was in one of the Night at the Museum movies. That's the first thing that popped up for some reason on Google. Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of what he's in, but I do know he was in I'm Your Man, which is a German science fiction romance from 2021, which is where he had to speak full German. And he was actually in that was Sandra Huller. I don't know German, but that's who was in Anatomy of a Fall.
Got it.
Yeah. So he's done some like big name shit, which is kind of wild. Oh, he was in The Boy and the Heron too.
There are a lot of people in that.
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson, Willem Dafoe. Mm-hmm. Well, for the English speaking cast.
Yeah. Yeah, so cool stuff. I am like very intrigued by him, given I didn't know who the fuck he was until this year. And I feel like he's getting a lot of praise, so I'll be watching. I will be watching you, Dan. Oh, he's in Solar Opposites too. I know you watched that.
Yeah, I watched some of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, this movie, I know we already said that going in, we had like not really sure what we thought or what we expected.
I went in with zero expectations, and I, like I said before, found that the trailer made it seem very much like a movie I had seen many, many times before.
Yeah.
And this was not that at all. This was extremely unique. Like, one of the more unique stories I've seen this year.
Yeah.
And that being said, I'll say this later, but I think it's easy to say that when this movie ended, I said that was an extremely tight script, which is something I was very impressed by. Like, I really like the way that this movie is written in terms of like how plot points are revealed and then open up other questions. I feel like everything kind of comes back around, right? Everything is built upon, there's always a cause and effect. And I was really impressed by that.
And even like smaller details that I hadn't like figured out when we saw it. I was thinking about it earlier today, and I was able to be like, that's why that happened. Like, even there's like small quotes that like the dialogue, what they said doesn't come up again, but I was able to think of like a thematic reason or like a plot reason why that dialogue was there.
So extremely tight script is the best way for me to put it.
Mm-hmm. I ultimately, like, my first thing that I thought walking out of this was like, that was definitely the weirdest movie I'm going to watch this year. And I'm about that. I don't have a problem with that. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely out there. It's not, there's way, way, way more out there stuff, but I definitely think one of the more out there movies released this year.
Well, I think of it as like the kind of like weird as Bavarian, where like you think it's one thing and then the mother shows up and you're like, the F?
That makes sense. I agree with that.
And that's where I felt like that's the turn that this one took. I was like, what the fuck? But I was like, about it. Like the mother and Bavarian, I was like, hell yeah, bitch. And that's how I felt with this.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah. So, yeah, really liked that. I thought we talked about how this was shot on film. I think this movie looked very beautiful. And part of that is obviously like they're filming in the German Alps. So it is beautiful. But a lot of it is due to the stylized, filming. Like it had texture that I really liked, which is happens when you're on film.
I noticed that, and it's like so obvious when something actually has that texture. So in my head, I was like, okay, this is either shot on film or they did the work to make it look like it was shot on film.
Yes.
And I am going to go out and have a hot take here that I think 75% of all films should be shot on film. it should only be shot on digital for like distinct stylistic reasons, and most movies would benefit from being shot on film. Not all. There are plenty that it makes sense to be shot digitally, but most would benefit, especially something like this. And it does.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like a lot of certain action movies or like superhero movies. I don't give a fuck. Film what you want.
I think go ahead, sorry.
Although the Batman, something like that.
It's not shot on film.
I know,
but it looks like
it is.
I think it really depends on the tone you're going for, but I think if you don't have a specific tone, film is going to make your movie look better. And that, I think, is when I joke about movies looking like Jared commercials, it's that they don't have a specific idea for the tone of the like color grading, and then they shoot on digital, and then it's like looks washed out and like weird.
Yeah, I'm currently thinking about how Immaculate. How he would have felt about that movie had it been shot on film.
It would have worked so much better. But I do think a movie that is going for a more rigid and more clean cut look does make sense on digital. And I would say a movie like Trap, which we just saw, makes total sense to me to be shot digitally. Mm-hmm. Because it is about this character that is...
Or like The Menu, I felt.
Agreed.
Yeah.
The Menu is another one that makes sense to be shot on digital.
Yeah.
But I think if you don't have a stylistic reason to shoot on digital, you should shoot on film. Like, if it's just going to help. It's like cheating to make your movie look better.
Yeah, it does like pretty much immediately make it look better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every rom-com should be shot on film.
I was actually thinking rom-com is a genre where I don't know.
I think it would just like automatically elevate. Like, I'm serious. It would immediately.
Yeah, but I'm also trying to think like fucking John Tucker Must Die being shot on film would be the stupidest thing ever. It would be so goofy.
It wouldn't.
Something about that would feel wrong to me. I don't know.
I understand. It's also, that's a product of its time. In the 2000s, so much was shot, or like digital was becoming like big, and it was quick and cheaper.
Yeah.
But I think that movie doesn't have like a distinct visual style, right? So like, I think if it was shot digitally, it'd be okay. Yeah. Or, I mean, it's shot on film, it would like work.
Yeah. I feel like we can halt the film discussion.
That was my hot take of the day.
Well, I don't even think that's like a
I
crazy
feel like
hot take.
This movie proved it to me, though.
Yeah, this movie looked good.
And I'm willing to eat crow on this one and be wrong, because like I said, there's plenty of things shot.
What did you say? Eat what?
Crow?
What the fuck does that mean?
Isn't that a term?
Norton in the background crying. Our dog is like, no, Dad, eat crow. I've never heard of that. Oh, I'm Googling it. It came up. Yep, to eat crow is an idiom that means to admit defeat or being wrong. So
you are eating crow about not knowing the word eating crow.
Damn, bruh.
Right now.
That was crazy.
Getting meta. Anyway, as I was saying before, I'm willing to admit defeat because I'm sure there are plenty of good examples where digital makes sense. I think Mad Max Fury Road, that was... Actually, I don't know. I can't remember now. Yeah, but so like something like Oppenheimer or anything that Nolan does shot on film, IMAX film, is worth it, and it looks way better. So...
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's my opinion.
Okay, yes. So this movie...
Yeah. This is how I get through the spoiler-free chat. I just talk about other bullshit, so then I can just spoil it.
I feel like there is enough to say about all of these movies without spoiling them, you pain in the ass.
You go for it.
Hunter Schafer's performance was great.
Very impressed, yes.
Yeah, like she is the center of this film. A bad actress in that role would make the movie not work. And she was really compelling to me. Like, her emotional scenes, I was really in. Her, like, flirty scenes, I was like, get it, girl. Like, yeah, I was so bought into her performance. And I never watched Euphoria, so this is the first time I'm seeing her. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I guess I have no choice but to stand now, moving forward.
I was also very impressed by her. I'm looking forward to her performance in OD, a game by Hideo Kojima and Jordan Peele.
You have mentioned that on the podcast prior.
I know. That's just like the thing that I know that she's in that I want to consume. She's
about to be in several things, I think.
Nice.
I don't remember what off the top of my head.
It was a very good performance and very ranged performance that she gave, and I think that's cool.
And then, as we were saying, Dan Stevens, very fun. He's not given like a crazy range or anything like she is, but like he works really well as this like weirdo character bad guy. as he put it.
Yeah. He's just good. Yeah, he's no, I don't want to say serviceable. He's doing exactly what needs to be done. Great, like, supporting character.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like her family members, I would call them serviceable at best, but I think Dan Stevens is elevated above that.
And maybe, though, it's because they're supposed to be serviceable at best. Like,
yeah.
They're literally, that's like that's what they're looking for out of that performance.
They don't need anything, like, super bold from them for, like, what the script is and what the relationships are.
Yep. So
I feel fine with that. The sister, Gretchen's sister.
Alma.
Yeah, spoiler, she is a sister. She's so cute.
Half-sister.
I loved her. She's so cute.
Yeah, she's the one. Well, she's mute. I don't know if we've gotten to that yet. That's why there was American Sign Language. Yeah, she's good. I liked her.
She was so cute.
She didn't, like, have a ton to do, but when she did, like, I thought...
Mm-hmm. I thought the writing with her character was really sweet.
Yes. Yeah, this movie has a lot of heart, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a spoiler, though. I'm waiting to talk about all that.
Saying a movie has a lot of heart.
It has a lot of heart, but I want to tell them why.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that, and we'll definitely, like, dive into what that means to us. I will say, I feel like this movie definitely has themes, but there are certain themes that I think it could be more explicit about what it's trying to say, or be more nuanced in what it's trying to say.
Yeah, I agree.
And that did bug me quite a bit thinking back on it. And again, we will elaborate on that. But I would say, like, it's a enjoyable movie, very fun, looks great, performance is great, like we said. It does fall flat in themes, but to a degree, I'm not really sure if the director cares. I think he's just trying to write a fun movie inspired by Cuckoo.
That was my takeaway as well.
Yeah, like, he's just like, okay, this is a cool concept, and we're gonna work from there. So, yeah. Yeah, I think beyond that, a lot, because this movie gets off the rails a little bit in, like, the way Bavarian does, we really, truly probably can't say more than that without, like, actually spoiling the plot. So, we're gonna go into spoiler territory starting now.
3, 2, 1. Begin.
Well, I said no. Okay, are you ready for a 15-second summary?
Sure.
This is going to be interesting for this particular movie. Okay.
Oh, German scientist is breeding weird parasite human combinations that then get left in other people's bodies, and then they're born, and then they have this screechy power that distorts your perception of time so that they can impregnate you with their goo.
That was pretty solid 15 seconds. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, this movie's insane. I was, like, holding back.
Yeah, this
it's
movie
crazy.
Is literally buck wild.
Yeah, all right.
I don't know if I can say more than that.
Ready, go.
Movie about family is kind of about family, but kind of just about birds.
Poon acquired, as Matt Dalton.
Poon acquired, yeah. We saw this with Matt Dalton, the actor that we talk about on this podcast all the time, because he's one of the besties, and he likes horror movies, so he goes to the theaters with us a fair bit. And when
Hunter Schafer gets a girlfriend at the end of the movie,
and Matt Dalton looked at me and said, "Poon acquired," and I was like, "Matt."
Was that during? That was at the end. Was that during the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, I only heard it once we were in the parking lot after.
He
That's
looked
really
at me
funny.
and said it. Matt is so funny.
That is really funny.
Like, minimal commentary while we're in there, obviously, because we're all watching a movie in a theater. But his, like, whisper commentary is great. Excellent. Comedic guy.
Okay, I'm going to read the plot description that I stole from Wikipedia.
Yep.
Okay.
Do it.
All right. In a cold open, a young woman steps outside of her house during a loud, violent argument between her parents. She hears screeching emanating from the nearby woods and begins to experience a seizure. She sprints off into the forest. After the death of her mother, grieving teenager Gretchen moves with her father Louis, stepmother Beth, and mute half-sister Alma to a resort town in the Bavarian Alps. The family is there to help design a new resort overseen by Herr König, who offers Gretchen a job at the front desk to help her adjust. Soon after their arrival, strange things begin to happen. Gretchen encounters multiple female guests vomiting while working at the reception desk. Alma suffers seizures triggered by a mysterious reverberating shriek, and Gretchen has a terrifying encounter with a hooded woman while biking home one night. But the incident is dismissed by the police as a prank. Gretchen meets a detective named Henry, who is investigating the murder linked to the hooded woman. Gretchen also becomes close to a guest named Ed, that's the woman Poon acquired, and they come up with a plan to run away together. However, their escape attempt is thwarted when they experience a disturbing time loop. Nearly run over by the hooded woman and crash their car, leaving Gretchen severely injured and confined to the resort. Henry explains to Gretchen that he believes the hooded woman is responsible for at least one murder. Her strange screeching disoriented the victim's husband, and the victim choked to death on her own vomit. They believe one of the vomiting women Gretchen saw earlier may be connected. She and Henry stake out a cottage where the hooded woman attacks Gretchen's coworker, Trixie, in an attempt to implant her with a mysterious slime. The next day, Gretchen confronts her father and König, expressing her disapproval of their involvement in the resort. During the argument, König accidentally reveals a package addressed to the family containing Gretchen's mother's old belongings. Louis is forced to confess that he sold their old family house. Enraged, Gretchen punches her father, retreats to her room, and listens to her mother's old voicemails. Among them, she hears a voicemail from Alma using text-to-speech asking Gretchen's mother to come visit. Gretchen emerges from her room to find her family missing. König tells her that her outburst caused Alma to have a seizure and they took her to the hospital. He says that they will take her to the nearest train station so she can leave, but first they will drive to his house so he can give her some money. There, König reveals the truth. Henry is a disgraced police officer, and the hooded woman is not a human, but a member of a near-human species that relies on brood parasitism, much like cuckoo birds. The species' females are placed among human families until they are ready to join their true kind. It is revealed that Alma was implanted in Beth's womb by the hooded woman and is also a member of the species. König has been experimenting with preserving the species at the resort, and Gretchen is seen as a threat to their survival. König locks Gretchen in the pool house that has been converted into a bedroom and sprays her with pheromones. He then uses a flute to summon a teenage specimen of the species, the same girl seen fleeing the woods at the beginning of the film. The adolescent Cuckoo is drawn to Gretchen and attempts to impregnate her using slime. However, Henry arrives just in time, shooting König and killing the creature. Henry and Gretchen race to the hospital where König staff, led by Dr. Bonimo, are preparing to reunite Alma with the hooded woman. Gretchen realizes that Henry intends to kill both the adult Cuckoo and Alma. Desperate to save her sister, Gretchen stabs Henry. Still alive, König returns and kills Bonimo, determined to see the experiment through to the end. After Alma is rescued, the mother appears, that's the hooded woman, but is kept at bay by Gretchen threatening to stab Alma, who pushes Gretchen and flees. Giving chase, Gretchen is pursued by the hooded woman, who stalks her through the records room. Henry knocks the shelves over, trapping the woman and Gretchen, who uses a pair of headphones and a Walkman to muffle the woman's screeching. In a final confrontation, Gretchen stabs the hooded woman in the throat with her butterfly knife, killing her. As Gretchen reunites with Alma, they find König and Henry in a standoff. Gretchen regains Alma's trust as the girls carefully attempt to leave, both of the men threatening the girls. Alma covers Gretchen's ears and lets out a powerful shriek, disorienting both the men long enough for the sisters to escape, and Henry and König shoot each other dead. Outside, the sisters are met by a recovering Ed, who drives the girls to safety, and the three flee the resort.
Whee!
That hurt my
Birds.
mouth. I'm sorry if Norton was whining in the background. He wants a towel with a treat inside of it, but he's already had like 3, and he cannot have another.
Yeah, because he's gonna get chonky, as my mother-in-law has been saying. She's been calling him chunk, even though he weighs 17 pounds. He's very small, but he is being incredibly naughty. But yeah, the cuckoo bird thing, I was like, what in the actual fuck is happening? But I did look up some info on cuckoo birds, can confirm some cuckoo bird species are brood parasites, not all. So the brood parasite manipulates a host, either of the same or of another species, to raise its young as if it were its own, usually using egg mimicry with eggs that resemble the host. So they're basically like laying their eggs in the nest of other species. But most cuckoo bird species do raise their own young. It's only like some of them that do this.
Well, so the reason, though, is in this story is basically the mother uses the goo to impregnate.
Well, the mother uses the goo to put her, like an egg, in the human woman, and then a man has to inseminate that. So, like, it is the biological child of the human man, but the biological child of the cuckoo.
Yes, and then they refer to the mother as the surrogate mother. So yeah, that sounds right to me. Cool.
And what is very fun about Alma is they specify, I don't even think it was in the plot description, they specify early in the movie that she was a twin and that she absorbed or like ate her twin in the womb. And
she looks like her surrogate mother.
Yeah, they are both Asian, and that's why it's like deliberate that they used a different race. But yeah, so they how I interpret that is that they weren't identical twins; they were fraternal twins.
And she absorbed the cuckoo.
She is actual, like the quote surrogate mother's actual egg, and she absorbed the cuckoo, twin,
which still made her part cuckoo.
But that's why she's like much more human.
That's more,
than the rest.
And this is not confirmed in the movie. This was just something cool that we talked about after. So that's what we think, at least.
I feel like without that, then the absorbing twin thing doesn't need to be there. So
but she does have the cuckoo power. She's mute. She does the screechy thing that distorts your view of time, which is really cool. Oh, we go back up. Because I want to say, I locked in so hard when this movie did the first time distortion thing.
Oh, the time distortion was so cool.
That was when I was like, oh, I'm in. Because I wasn't really sure how I felt about this beforehand. Because like I said, the trailers didn't do much. Mm-hmm. But there's a part where Hunter Schafer's character, Gretchen, is like chilling and this screeching starts. And then all of a sudden the scene just repeats itself like 3 or 4 times over and over. And I was like, oh,
it's a little
I'm
disoriented and unexpected. Yes. Disorienting. Like,
immediately I was like, all right, like here we go. I get it now. I'm locked in. This is like some kind of cool, like sci-fi element to this. I feel like sci-fi is it's not in space, but it is like a experimental German scientist doing creepy things to create another species. Like,
what is with the Germans and these unethical science experiments?
That is very purposeful, right? Like that has to be like, let's have a German person do experiments on people because like it's calling back to Nazi Germany.
And when I was like looking at interviews, because I was trying to find like, is that deliberate? Don't see that as being deliberate.
I'm taking it as deliberate.
Well, he basically said he wanted the movie to be left up to the audience interpretation, but he said, while Cuckoo can be read as an allegory for reproductive health and the many forms of sisterhood, it wasn't intended to make any extremely concrete points. That's why I said, like, I think he was like, cuckoo birds, experiment, cool. And then was like, whatever you get from that, you get from that. That's fine, dog. And honestly, like, it still makes for a fun movie, so I don't entirely care. But, I do wish it said more about reproductive rights because essentially it's like...
We're not on themes yet.
I know.
Okay.
But while I'm there, I just need to say that really quickly because it really doesn't say much besides like, don't force a birth on someone. Like, don't put your egg in someone else's body.
I have...
Like, that's all it's saying. Yeah. Which is like, duh.
I will say, I think when a movie writes a script this tight, I just like don't care if the themes are concrete in any way. I feel like because everything else works, I was like, I would actually prefer it as is. I don't want them to add any more thematic elements, like in all sincerity, because I think it has a lot of heart in the way it covers the family stuff. And I think it introduces a lot of like insane lore that is done really well. And I'm like, that's it. That's all I need.
Yeah, the lore is really interesting. That is my like one main criticism, as I just think in this day and age where like that is actively a concern, like going into an election year and like Roe versus Wade, like I just wish there's like a more definitive statement made besides like,
do you not think it would feel corny and like it was like phoning it in? Because I do, but I
well, the first Omen did it and Immaculate did it.
I know. I just think in this one it would have felt off, but that's just me.
It depends on how they did it.
Yeah.
Like, yes, but I agree that the script in its current form is very tight as is. But I did some reading, and he basically said he was watching a documentary about cuckoo birds and was like, there's my idea.
Well, it worked. You wrote something crazier than cuckoo birds, man.
Yeah.
You created another species that's part of Homo sapiens, like an off branch.
Yeah. He said, I watched this documentary where these host parent birds end up with this chick that's not theirs, and yet they work day in and day out to feed this chick. There is a sense of tragedy and despair to this. There's also beauty and a hope to it because they didn't abandon this bird that isn't theirs. I thought, well, I have something here. How do I project this onto humans?
Well, you did a good job.
And then he said he thought about making it a Rosemary's Baby thing where we have a child, a demon child, and the mother character. But after thinking about it, I was like, actually, being a sibling in that cuckoo's nest is the worst.
And that's what
Hunter.
Gretchen is.
Yeah.
So like Gretchen's the one that doesn't belong. And that is very much set up that she feels like she doesn't belong here at all because her mom died and she moved in with them. Basically got stuck going to Germany where she doesn't want to be. And isn't really interested in her sister until she realizes that her sister is like well-meaning and that she actually does like care about her, which is really cool. And I think there's this wonderful moment in the movie where via the text to talk, she has a call from, or sorry, she listens to the voicemail that she's been leaving on her mom's voicemail just to like hear her voice. And it's from Alma basically saying that Gretchen's sad and she calls you all the time. Why don't you ever call her back or come visit her?
Yeah, that
and I was like,
me.
This is breaking my heart.
It was so cute.
Yeah.
Oh my.
And that was like the moment where there very much was this sisterhood thing of like sisters don't get along because Gretchen's supposed to be like a teenager, right?
Yeah.
Like 18.
Like teenagers are brats and like siblings bicker and
it's this moment of like, and it is portrayed like animals in the wild, siblings, they are fighting each other for survival. And they say
for
that,
resources.
right, for resources. Yeah. And that is kind of how human children react too. They're fighting for attention. But there is a moment that they realize that no, we're stronger together, right? And that we like need each other. And I feel like that's what this movie is about. And so even in this Parasite, it's like a found family thing where it's like, no, we are stronger together. We need each other. We don't need to fight for resources. We'd be better off finding resources together. I think that's cool. And I think that this movie actually nails that theme throughout.
Yeah.
Especially with the ending. So.
And I do like his quote about like there's beauty and hope to it because they didn't abandon that bird that isn't theirs. Like thinking about, you know, the options if you can't have your own biological child or like you don't want to keep your biological child, like with the considering like foster care and adoption, that like you don't have to be blood to like give a shit.
Well, let's talk about some other things we like about the movie because I kept saying the script is really tight. So I wanted to give you some examples.
Yes, do that.
Okay. So I'm trying to make sure I do it from like the beginning. There's a ton of like what I would call Chekhov's guns in this movie where there's things like set up before and like the butterfly knife, whatever. That's an easy one.
Yeah.
But so we get the open, I need the best examples here. The best example is there's this gunfight and I'm like, this gunfight is dumb as shit. Why is there this weird gunfight in the middle? And in my head, I'm like, I don't know if I would have gone this route. This is near the end. I couldn't go in order. I'm sorry. And then they use this gunfight to set up a scene where it's Henry versus Herr König, right? Herr König wants to keep Alma alive and wants to kill Gretchen. Henry wants to keep Gretchen alive and kill Alma. So they do a double body human shield to escape them, which then ends up, and it works until Alma gets out there, covers her ears, and does like the screech to get both of them. And then they end up shooting each other. And I was like, I love this. I was like, that is the coolest thing I've seen. And I went from being like, oh, this gunfight, kind of lame, to being like, this is genius. I know exactly why they put this here. And I'd say throughout the movie, they have these moments where something is like a little bit off. And I'm like, why would they do that? And it always leads to something else that makes total sense.
Like
right?
what?
Well, I would say also including the cuckoo stuff, like the woman with the goop trying to go and impregnate Trixie. You don't know at the time what that's about. And you're like, oh, this is just weird, right? And then it leads to like an actual satisfying answer of, oh my God, this is batshit insane. Like there are different species impregnating these women.
Yeah, or like Alma can't talk and then you realize it's because she's cuckoo.
Good example. Yeah, she can't talk because she is, different species and does like the screechy thing. Or even the twin thing. Or how about, I'm like, why are we going with this whole route about the mom being dead? And like is this just like to make me sad, make me more sympathetic? And it's like, no, it's to set up this like sisterhood arc where Alma ends up calling and she catches that. Like it feels like everything. Why did they sell mom's house? Is it to make her feel more desperate? You know, that's a little cliche. Oh, wait, no, it's for her to get the voicemails for that realization to happen. It just feels like everything builds upon itself, leading to like something else that makes total sense.
They mentioned how they met. Say the German word. for what's his name?
Herr König?
Yes.
Herr means Mr.
Herr.
Yeah, Frau is Mrs. Herr is Mr.
Like hair like my... I know it's not spelled like my hair, but it's said like my hair.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So, Herr König. Is that how they said it in the movie? I don't know.
I guess it's like air or Konish. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
Air.
Pronunciation. Dan. They, like, talk about how, like, they met Dan before. They met him, like, 7 years ago, like, on their honeymoon.
And they designed the resort.
And they designed the resort. And then there's, like, this slight reference of, like... They made Alma there.
Yeah, you said that you can see Alma was conceived. The plans for the resort were the only thing conceived that night. Yeah.
So they talk about that very early in the movie, and Hunter Schafer's just like, ew, gross. But like that is very important to the entirety of the film because that's when, you know, they impregnated her with the cuckoo egg and
it was in the honeymoon suite where all the women keep coming out of and puking. Anyone that stays in the honeymoon suite is getting impregnated.
Yep. And then they use the same tactic to bring the family back so they can get Alma by being like, why don't you build more on this property, sir?
There you go.
So yeah, I think that is another example just of like the tiniest discussion. It's not just there to make us like giggle or like embarrass Gretchen Hunter.
Another example, Ed. I was like, oh, they're just adding a weird like love interest in here. But no, Ed shows up right at the end to drive them out of there. Like it just like everything happens for a reason.
And that's also her like finding someone outside of her family that gives a shit about her, which I feel like is kind of needed.
Agreed. So I'm sure there's plenty of other examples. I feel like if you see it, you'll understand what I'm saying. But I was just like really happy with it. Everything just like pieced together in such a fun, meaningful way that made total sense. So any of you plot cells out there that care about plot holes, there aren't any in this movie.
And I saw people on TikTok saying that there are plot holes, and I was kind of like, what?
Jeremy from Cinesins ruined a generation of people. Sorry, Jeremy. I appreciate what you did.
Your content was funny, but...
You actually, like... I can't blame him. That's really mean of me.
I know, you say that all the time.
It has hurt people's brains.
Well, and I think
I call it their plot cells.
People think like that anyway. And what's funny is CinemaSins, like, knows that they're being overly picky. Like, the things they're pointing out are kind of funny. But, like, that doesn't mean everyone else knows that.
Agreed. I will say, I feel like I sound really pretentious when I say it, but I think the whole, like, plot holes is such a American Hollywood mindset where like narrative is king, where I feel like in a lot of movies, narrative does take a back seat. Well, in a lot of other countries, narrative takes a back seat to everything else. And it kind of annoys me that we're so like narrative brained. Yeah,
I think certain films, like the narrative is important, and other films is more about how it makes you feel, or it's about how it looks. Like,
sure,
there's so much more to film than just the story. So getting too caught up in the story, I think, is a waste of your time, unless everything is else is shitty.
So here's what drives me nuts, though, and I'm gonna make you agree with me right now. What would these people say if they watched Lost Highway?
Oh, they'd
be like, well, there are plot holes.
I mean, like the whole movie's a plot hole.
They would be unable, that's the kind of the point
know,
though, right?
Yes.
They would be unable to accept that these movies live in dream logic. And that's like what drives me nuts. It's like, like, do the people that say stuff like that need to just broaden their horizons a little bit? Or they need to do what Oz Perkins recently said. I love that quote where he said, some people want to beat a movie and some people want to eat a movie. And like, personally me, I want to be the latter. I'm here to, I say it all the time.
Like actually enjoy and consume this piece of art versus just like fight with it.
I'm here to take it in, not try to outsmart it.
Yeah.
And I said that on TikTok recently, and someone called me Mr. Movie Guru and was really basically called me pretentious.
It was pretty funny.
And I was like, this is like the most simplistic way to put it. Sorry that you're baby brained. But, you know, I actually responded in a nice way because I was trying to spread positivity instead of negativity. Matt loves
getting in fights with TikTok commenters.
Yeah.
Because he has an anonymous account that he bitches at people with.
I do.
It's pretty funny.
I shouldn't bitch with them.
I like it.
TikTok has baby brain children.
Well, I can't bitch from our own account.
We could. That'd be kind of. I mean, that's engagement,
I do
baby.
Sometimes. I forget what I said.
All right, well, we don't
the other day that was really funny. Someone was like, "Oh, so I was talking about Trap and like how it was like intentionally kind of like campy and you know whatever, and how people are like, oh, the dialogue in this is so stupid," and I was like, you know,
you're stupid.
This is deliberate choices by the filmmaker. So that doesn't like, it's not bad dialogue. It's like stylized. And if you don't like that, that's fine. But don't say it's bad.
Someone
and
else. Sorry, go ahead.
They said, oh, so it was bad on purpose. Got it. And I was like, just because it's not your cup of tea doesn't make it inherently bad. Heart. And then, they responded, Diva, it's objectively bad.
And then I responded, objectively bad, ? Grow up. Because actually, if you're going to call something objectively bad when it comes to like a piece of art, like a piece of like a movie. I also think it's funny to talk about a movie like Trap as being objectively bad, because then that's like completely ignoring Josh Hartnett's performance being actively good and the shot selection being good and having like this masterclass cinematographer. And also the movie being good. Even if you ignore that, like the plot. And the dialogue being good. Even if you ignore the plot and the dialogue, what I'm saying is like there are so many other elements that like make a film. So you can't be like, this movie is a piece of shit when all of those things are going for it. Just because you didn't like the plot or the dialogue, boo-hoo. That's why I told him to grow up. Yeah. Anyway, that's our rant about people's reactions to Trap. You're all being kind of immature about it. But that's fine. You don't have to be as smart as me, Anna. Not most people aren't. Yes, let the hate flow. You sound like me finally. Well, yeah, sometimes we need to get more controversial. Sometimes I'm like, when words come out of my mouth, they sound dumb because I just like don't have a great vocabulary and I get nervous when the words come out of my mouth. So then I start to say stupid shit. But then I actually think about like my competency in a variety of facets of my life, whether that's like emotional intelligence or just like understanding tasks at work or like my education. And then I'm like, maybe I am smart, and maybe I'm smarter than all of you. Yeah, I think that you actually just you lack confidence. You lack confidence, and you lack conviction sometimes. Sorry. Oh, I do. On this podcast too, I get bullied by you so easily. Yeah, you should. But you can stand by what you believe. Like I rated Insidious so low. But you gotta not get mad at me when I stand by what I believe. That's the thing. I think sometimes if I don't give in to you, then like it just is like a standoff of bitchiness, especially on the podcast. That's okay. And like no one needs that. That's what people are here for. Are they? Maybe. Please tell us. Usually we're in agreement on a lot of stuff. So that like helps. Tell us. Do you want us to beef more politely, or are we beefing an appropriate amount? Okay. We're not beefing about this movie. We feel similar about this movie. So. Yes, very fun. I went through that whole thing. I was gonna say similar to Trap. I actually felt very similar to Trap after seeing this. Very, very different movies. A similar level of enjoyment and level of entertainment. Like I was very impressed by a lot of different things in this movie. Mm-hmm. And I was like, holy shit. Like I haven't seen something that kind of like caught me off guard in the theaters like this in a while. Yeah. I can't say I haven't seen anything caught me off guard because, Twin Peaks season 3. Twin Peaks mentioned. Mark that off on your bingo card. I think the last time that I felt this caught off guard in theaters though was probably Barbarian. Yeah. I could see that. I can't think of anything we saw last year that in theaters made me feel this way. There's plenty of movies that catch me off guard, but I know. But I'm TV, saying, I thought you were going to say Dark. Dark caught you off guard. Dark was an entire mindfuck. I love it. It makes sense. It does actually also a very tight script. Everything like very much connects very well, but like it is a mindfuck still because it's so detailed and elaborate and smart that like most people aren't that smart. I'm gonna say like 98% of people aren't smart enough to like process that shit without notes. I was going to say not Trap. It's weird calling Dark a tight script because I think it is, but it is not very comprehensible on one viewing. So I think I need a different word, but I don't need to semantics. I'll worry about it. Well, and I also think that's because it's over 3 seasons. So like something that's brought up in season 1 does get a resolution by the end of season 3, but then you're like, that was so long ago. I even forgot that was a thing. And like, that's kind of... I think it's human memory. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, anyway, this movie also has German. Oh, is that German? Like... Okay, no, I'm just saying back to this movie. Okay. Also it's German. I thought you were trying to say a theme. I was like, where are we going with the German theme? We kind of brought that up already, of experimentation. Yeah. And I think it seems to be a deliberate choice. But I don't know, because he is German, so he might have just wanted to make a co-production between Germany and the U.S. Like, he's German, so he was like, yeah, I want to film this movie in Germany. Like, I don't know. You definitely gave this dude an over-the-top bad guy German accent, so that's where more my mind goes with it. You interpret it how you want, an audience out there. That's how I see it. I don't think it's saying that much. It's honestly pretty classic for a film to do that. It's like a pretty common thing, right? Yeah, I think we end up like obviously reading into things because that's like our purpose here, and it's fun. But sometimes there's just that's not necessary.
and this might just be one of those where I think there is mild, like there are themes, but they're just not like dived too deep into, and that's okay.
I think the sisterhood one hits pretty hard.
It's the one that hits the hardest.
And I think that's the one that's the most fleshed out.
Yes,
and if that's it, I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Fun fact though about the Herr König.
Good.
Was originally supposed to be played by John Malkovich and was supposed to be in like 60s and a different personality. And Dan Stevens, when they were like kind of came on at like the last fucking second and was like, I don't see it like that. And they kind of like adapted from there, and then they were like buddies.
That's really funny that it was John Malkovich. I don't think it would have worked because, and I want your opinion on this, I would have immediately known he was the bad guy. When Dan Stevens came out, I was like, he's probably, no, listen. There were moments throughout where I was like, he's the bad guy. And then I was like, oh my God, wait, is he a red herring for being the bad guy? Like he actually is trying to protect her from these creatures. Because there is a moment
where he's like, don't leave. I will come pick you up.
And I felt, because it's Dan Stevens, this young, like handsome man, I'm more likely to be like, maybe he is like a second leading person, like leading role in this movie, like a leading protagonist. And it makes me kind of question that. So I thought maybe he was a red herring bad guy for a little bit. And that like the real bad guy was the mama, Cuckoo.
Yeah.
And then he's not. And I think that plays really well. Where John Malkovich immediately, if John Malkovich doing German accent, I'm like, okay, that's the bad guy.
Yeah, I think like an older white dude would have had to be like really sweet, but in a non-threatening way. And I think that's to like pull off the role.
Maybe
but
John
I think
Malkovich
that would be
could,
kind of hard.
But I don't know. Just like the way he looks. I also wanted to say, we're kind of all over the place, but I loved the creature design for the mama because it really was just a person, but they put her in these like sunglasses that these red eyes shined through in the hood, and her like mouth would gape really odd in like an unhuman way when she was doing the screeching. And it really scared me. Like in this movie's not overly scary, but there's like one or two really good scares. And I think that her design really helps because it is this uncanny valley with the way her mouth opens. And obviously like the idea of that you're trapped in this like mental time loop as she can still move slowly towards you, but you're stuck unless you can cover your ears was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. All of the like concepts tied to her and how her quote powers work were really interesting. I also like that, you know, they didn't try and get like funky with their creature design. Like they were just like, it's gonna look like a lady.
Yeah, they would have just ended up making something look exactly like every other creature design, like in Quiet Place.
Yeah, or
Stranger Things.
Like, yeah, we just have a lady, and I appreciate that.
It worked really well.
It also like ties in with the plot that it's just a lady, so like they have to kind of fit in. They would be like batshit insane if they had a child and they were like, "Why does it look like a frog?"
That's really funny.
Like
they would have like sense? We watched Shrek 2 recently. They'd be like Donkey and Dragons babies.
Yeah, literally. I've been like, what the fuck is this tadpole looking thing?
I also wanted to say, and I think that this is something that the movie is maybe a little bit disappointing in, but I'm fine with it, is that it's not overly scary. It has maybe one or two scenes that I think are really effective scares, but outside of that, it's not really going for that.
I hid 3 times.
Okay, maybe it was scary for you then.
I didn't scream at all. But also, I keep that to a minimum in theaters because I don't want to be a puss.
I thought the scary scenes were definitely the hooded woman, and she did some scary stuff, and it usually, for me, was the way that they moved her mouth around, and the screech is very scary.
Also, the bicycle scene that's in the trailers was
scary. Yeah.
Very good. Because it kept going, like, she's riding for so long.
While she's being chased.
And they keep showing that there's someone chasing her kind of in the distance, and then they show her really close up on the bike, and they show like her shadow of her on the bike on the ground, and then it goes back to the lady, and that just kept happening for like a minute and a half, and then finally you see Mama Cuckoo reaching out towards her in the shadow, and then it was like, but you're like waiting for it for so long, and you're like knowing it's happening, but it's just like built, it's a scare that's built to very, very well. Like, you know what's happening, and it gets you still. Matt Dalton was like giggling the entire lead up.
It's a well-crafted scene. That's why. Sometimes when you see stuff that's like, it's not that it's funny, but it's just like, I love how this is being done.
Yeah, that's why
I'm giggling from joy.
Yeah, he had like his fist, like his hands in like fists, like shaking, like, and then giggling.
Me during all of Dune Part 2.
Oh my God. True.
Actually, though. Actually, me during all of Challengers.
True.
Also, I mentioned those movies a lot, but that's because they're like my top 5 of the year. So, top 5 of 2024.
That's fair.
I saw the TV Glow also.
Yeah, that's fair, bro.
So I'm going to be talking about them a lot, at least this year.
Yeah.
Okay, what else we want to say? I think we hit the themes. We said a lot of the stuff we liked. I would say the biggest thing going for it is that tight-ass script. And it's shot on film, so that helps. I think it's very unique. So for the viewers out there that are looking for something, like, why does Hollywood always make the same movies and remakes? Like, please go support this movie. Because I don't think this is perfect by any means, but it's something different.
Yeah, fun.
It's something that, like, really is out there and, like, is trying for something. So if you want more of this, which I do, go see it.
Yeah.
And lastly, I'll say, I definitely have recency bias and I definitely have theater bias. I can't tell you a time that I haven't enjoyed seeing a movie in a theater. If I got
Night Swim,
even then, if I get some big faces on a screen, maybe a little snack, even though I don't really get the popcorn there.
Yeah, you don't get movie theater snacks. That's me, dog.
Sometimes I like to have like 1 or 2 bites here. A little snack, maybe
I always
maybe
get
a
popcorn
drink.
and then like shit my pants.
Yeah, well, hold on. You're ruining my point here. I'm never having a bad time when I'm in the theater. I love the theater. Big loud noises, big face on the screen. I'm going to be happy. So, but you're right. I even like the fucking Suicide Squad movie, not the James Gunn one. I like wasn't convinced that it was bad initially because I saw it in theaters.
No.
And then like a day later, I was like, oh, that was awful.
No,
like that was
dog shit.
That's probably one of the worst movies ever made.
I knew it was dog shit.
Yeah.
I knew. I've intentionally
didn't wanna
put myself
believe
to
it.
bed in the theaters because I was like, this sucks. I might as well take a nap. It's dark in here.
Well,
Side note, Spence, I mentioned shitting my pants. I'm just going to clarify. I've never shit my pants, but I do have bathroom emergencies where I need to haul it. It's a lot of things. And side note, because of that, I'm getting a colonoscopy 2 days after this episode is released.
I think our audience definitely wanted to know that.
Yeah. Well, you might as well know I'm broken. Like mentally and physically. I'm not thriving.
Stop self-deprecating.
Colonoscopy and endoscopy. Because
they're gonna touch them in the middle.
Yeah, they're gonna kiss.
All right. You want to rate this movie? Oh, favorite scenes. I forgot.
I really liked the bike scene. Sorry.
My favorite scene. I said it. Double human shield. That is the coolest thing. Also,
it was
like
also just,
what
cute too.
What a great sisterhood thematic thing of like I protect you, you protect me. That also kind of goes back to the animalistic side of it. Of like we're gonna not fight for resources. We're gonna protect each other from the people trying to kill us. And also, like, amazing moment when Alma then covers her ears so she can do the screechy thing for the first time to disorient them to leave. That was cool.
Yeah.
What a cool movie.
Badass Alma, though, like, she's obviously, like, also a protector for her sister.
Yeah.
Like, by trying to call mom earlier and then doing this. Like, realizing she has this ability, trying it out, but making sure her sister's protected in the way she knows how.
It's also just so clear that Alma, like, clearly has looked up to Gretchen this whole time, and Gretchen's not giving a shit. And they kind of do the same thing for us, where they don't really show much of Alma. They don't show Alma looking up to her. It's like a realization for us the same way it is for Gretchen, which is really, once again, really fucking tight script writing, okay? Like, to reveal it, to allow us to be revealed that, like, Alma cares for her at the same time. So we're also like, oh, my heart, the same way she is. Genius. Put us in put us in the shoes of the protag.
Well, I also like that they do that for Alma, because that just means at the end you are more motivated to have her be saved.
Yep, 100%.
Like, you pick a side because of that, because Alma's been so sweet and cute.
Tight script. Take notes, screenwriters.
Side note, I did want to share... there's a scene where Gretchen is playing a bass. Hunter Schafer learned to play bass.
Yep.
For that scene.
Nice.
For this movie.
Pretty cool.
Like, bitch, what can't you do? Like, that's so rude. Anyway, okay, we can rate now.
Cool.
7.
Oh, nice. That's it? 7 out of 10?
7.
Cool. I'm giving
the discussion made me want to give it a 7.5, but my instinct right after seeing the movie was 7, so I'm gonna stay 7.
My instinct right after the movie was between a 7 and an 8, and I gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd, which is also what I gave Trap, and I felt similar levels of entertainment, so I'm gonna give it an 8. My issue is I gave Ocean's 11 an 8, and now I feel like Ocean's 11 needs to be a 10.
When the fuck did I give Trap?
I don't know.
I don't know which is better for me, and I feel like I might have given Trap higher than a 7. Did I give Trap a 7?
You know, I'm going to give this movie a 7.5, I decided. I think you probably did give it a 7.
Okay.
It's like a really good 7.5, though. It's just like, when I'm trying to rank it next to my other stuff, like, Ocean's 11 is better, I'm sorry. Maybe Ocean's 11 should have been a 4.5 on Letterboxd.
Who's to say?
It's a good movie. But
Matt, what's your Letterboxd? Tell the people at home.
I don't know.
That's incredibly
I
helpful.
don't write anything. I just log it for me and then put the stars.
Tell the people.
Do you need me to pull up my Letterboxd?
Yeah.
I don't write anything. I'm not about using it that way. I am Matt Hanna 17. No spaces, no anything. Just Matt Hanna 17.
Thank you for sharing, sir. So you can
watched,
definitely go follow Matt there. How many movies have you watched this year?
Oh, I was gonna say I watched 8 this month. So far, I watched a movie every other day. Is what that means.
Oh my god, bro.
I don't know how many. I don't know how to see how many I've watched this year.
Oh, okay.
There's definitely a way to do it. No, there definitely is a way. Oh, I'm 67 this year.
Oh my god.
That's not that many.
It's kind of a lot when like you play a sport and.
Oh wait, my diary is 68 this year. Actually, that might have been that I've done a rewatch.
Oh yeah.
Like 67 new films this year. Yeah, that's what it is. So I've rewatched one of the movies I've watched twice this year. I think that was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse because I wanted to watch it with you.
That was last year. Oh,
well, then I don't know.
Who's to say?
Okay, well, I am done here. I would say go support this movie. It's cool.
Yeah.
Hunter Schafer's badass.
Yes.
We'll
Dan be Stevens, following her career. And same with Dan Stevens.
Yeah. Up and coming. Let's go. Okay, I got nothing else to say, so I'm signing off. I'm Matt Hanna.
And I'm trying not to poop my pants.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Horror Hour with the Hannas. Make sure to listen to future episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or wherever you can find podcasts. You can follow us at Horror Hour with the Hannas on TikTok and Instagram for more content. If you like the podcast, please follow and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app. Happy hauntings!